Today, we'll see how we can implement an accessible checkbox using Radix UI and Polipo, starting from a Figma design. So we'll start by designing our checkbox. So easy enough. We just draw a square, we add a stroke, maybe a little bit thicker, and now in the middle of it, we just draw our check mark. There it is. We make sure that this check mark is centered vertically and horizontally. And that's our design. Let's implement it. Let's call it checkbox. And let's switch to code. So here we have a Bit project that's running. First of all, we start the Polipo server. Okay, so now Polipo is connected. We just have to run the Figma plugin for Polipo. Okay, the plugin is connected. Now we make sure that in the code we point to the right frame. So we name this layout checkbox and we point it to the frame called checkbox in Figma. Finally, here we change the name to checkbox. There it is. Now we see that our checkbox is being drawn on the screen. Maybe let's add a wrapper with some padding just so that we can see it better. I'm going to wrap it in a div, add some style, RMs. Okay, nicer. Let's also zoom in a little bit so we can see it better. Okay, so far it's just a static layout. We want to connect it to our library, so Radix UI. I'm going to open another terminal and install Radix UI /React checkbox. That's it. And now we can use the library. So I can import it from Radix UI React checkbox. And we have a checkbox. We want to use this element as the main element. Yeah. So for the host element, the root, we are going to use the checkbox component. And that's it for now. Okay, let's reload the page since we have new libraries. Nothing has changed apparently, except that now this element is actually a button, and we have all of the settings for accessibility so that it's a checkbox. By clicking, we see that the state changes, true and false, but the indicator is always shown, and we want it to be shown only when the checkbox is selected. So for this, it's pretty easy. We just give it a proper name. We call it indicator. And now we go back to our implementation. And for this indicator element, we will use the indicator component coming from Radix UI. Simple enough. Now our checkbox works properly. Let's change the style a little bit. Maybe we can add some rounded corners. Nice. Maybe a little bit more. Then we can maybe change the shape a little bit. Move this down. Okay, much nicer now. I also want to make sure that it's still centered. Yeah. I'm going to make it round on both sides. Let's zoom in to see that it's actually doing what we want. And perhaps I want to change the field to be a slight shade of gray. And that's it. The checkbox is still working, but now with a nicer style. Now we need to implement the disable state for the checkbox. And for that, I'm just gonna add a variant. So first, I'm gonna transform this into a component. I'll reload the plugin to make sure that it's loaded correctly. And now I can add a variant. So the property that distinguishes the two variants, I'm going to call it state. And for the default, I just keep default. And for the disable, I write disabled. For that, I will maybe make it dashed, and I will change all of the black colors to be 50% opacity. Actually, here, so that it applies to everything. Okay, now we have to make sure that the variants are connected correctly. So we go back to the configuration. We have some properties. So state, we want it to be default normally. Let's see, now the component is showing again. But when it is disabled, and to test for disable, we can use the data disabled attribute, which is set automatically by Radix UI. And for the disabled state, I'm just gonna set the state to disabled. Okay, so far so good, no change. But when we go to the code and we make this checkbox disabled, we can see that it's showing like this. Oh, the indicator is not showing because it's removed by Radix UI, but we can actually force it to be displayed. So there it is. Okay. Let's see if I can make this actually dashed. Okay, this is not working properly, but that's okay. Now, what's the issue now? If we remove the disabled, now the indicator is going to show all the time. So we have to add another state. So the default will be unchecked. And then I'm going to add a new one. Call it checked. Move it up. Let's add some auto layout to this so I can move it up. And in the unchecked variant, I can hide the indicator. Okay, that's it. Now we'll have to change our configuration. So by default, the state is unchecked. But if we have data state equals to checked, we change the properties. Copy and paste this, and the state will make it checked. Let's try if this works. Let's reload the plugin to be sure. Okay, this is set to fill, which is wrong. All of them are set to fill. No, I actually want them to be fixed. And there it is, working, and also working in the disabled state. So here's how you implement the checkbox using Figma, Polipo, and Radix UI, and have it accessible, and also with a design that's easily customizable from Figma. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.